Hi everyone. Some of you might know me. I am Jennifer Davis. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner here at Psychiatric Wellness. And today, in light of recent events, I just wanted to share my journey with my personal life and postpartum depression and what that experience was like for me and kind of how I grew from it. So, 10 years ago, I had my first daughter, my beautiful baby girl, and I had always dreamed of this day. I thought that it would be the most amazing time, the happiest time of my life. And in looking back, it was, and it still is amazing and happy that I have her. But unfortunately, I immediately was hit with postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, and maybe even a little bit postpartum OCD. Um, and what was the most amazing time of my life quickly became one of the most challenging times of my life, and actually influenced me to get into the career field of psychiatry to begin with. So I remember specifically 10 years ago, I gave birth. The birth itself was absolutely amazing. I immediately felt happy emotions. But a few days later, when I was being discharged from the hospital, things began to change mentally for me. I remember as I was getting wheeled down to go to the car, I was so incredibly scared. My anxiety was through the roof. I was anxious about if something bad would happen to my daughter in the car ride home. I was crying because I felt like she was growing up already, and I was going to miss out on things in her life. I was already kind of spiraling just a few days after postpartum. So I got home from the hospital and started to adjust to just the challenges of being a new mom and taking care of a new baby, but things were different. Things were a lot harder than expected. I would have anxiety whenever I was just simply, playing with her on the floor. I would be scared that she would, roll over and get hurt. I would be scared if I gave her a bath that she might drown or she might get hurt. The fears they begin to flood in every moment of every day, to where I just couldn't relax. I was constantly scared that something bad was going to happen to her, and I was constantly doing things to make sure that she would be safe. Making sure the environment was safe, making sure someone else was there with me whenever I'm helping do things with her. And it just began to overwhelm my life in taking care of her. It just began to get so hard. And not only that, I slowly too began to feel very depressed. I felt like I couldn't hold her. I couldn't feel that happiness. I didn't want to hold my sweet little baby, even though I wanted to, I knew I wanted to, but in my mind, I just had no motivation to pick her up and hold her and snuggle with her. And that was the most, isolating, just horrible feeling as a mom, to feel like you don't want to hold your sweet new baby and to feel like you aren't happy whenever this should be the happiest time of your life. So it felt really isolating because you see other moms, on Facebook, on Instagram, posting these beautiful pictures of how happy they are, and I just didn't feel that same way. So after a few months, eventually things just continued to get worse and worse. And I remember one day I was so anxious. I was just crying and having panic attacks over and over again. Things were just horrible and I was so overwhelmed. And I didn't know what to do. And so that day, me and my husband went to the ER, and they really didn't know what to do either, other than to give me medicine to calm down in that moment. Their job isn't to treat me long term like a psychiatrist. Their job is just to get you stabilized. But it was that moment that they referred me to a Psych NP, which is awesome. And they started managing medications. I got into therapy and was working through all these emotions and these feelings. After months of hard work in therapy and a few months of being consistent with medications, I began to be able to feel like myself again. I began to feel like I could hold my baby girl and be happy. Um, but I just wanted to kind of share a little bit of my story, that really seeing that process and how low I was, and how like really the psychiatric nurse practitioner really saved my life, changed my life for the better. After being on that medication, I was able to do things that I never thought I would be able to do because my anxiety was so low. Um, and yeah, it just truly saved me. So that's why I wanted to become a psychiatric nurse practitioner. And after that experience, I told myself, I was like, I'm never going to have another baby again, because that was just so hard and so challenging for me. And I couldn't imagine doing all that again. But here I am, 10 years later, I have 4 baby girls, my oldest and the 3 baby girls. But what I did was I was just like, I'm going to have a plan. As soon as I have a baby, I'm going to get into therapy. I'm going to start medication. I'm going to be proactive for my mental health this time. And so I did that with my second daughter, and things were so much different. I was able to bond with her. I was able to be happy and want to hold her and play with her. And it was just the most amazing thing because of what I went through with my first one. And then I had the twins, and same thing, I did really well. But, even if you do start out on medication, it can be hard trying to find the right medication. So I encourage you, just don't give up on it, because once you find the right thing to help, then you will feel better. But yeah, so that's my journey with postpartum depression. So I just want to encourage any mamas out there, that are worried about postpartum or have had postpartum, not to give up. Postpartum depression can last for 1 to 2 years after having your baby. It's not abnormal to experience it. It's very common, but there is treatment, and I encourage you to get treatment because it truly just changes how the postpartum period is. So thank you for listening to my story, and yeah, come see us.